Going live in 3, 2, 1. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. U.S. announces a $25 million reward arrest for Venezuela's Maduro. I actually didn't see this one coming. I thought they would be kind of chummy with these guys. But this is pretty crazy because just yesterday or the day before, we talked about how his opponent, the woman who was running against him, and during the Pick the Prez Day in their country, essentially many believed that she had won. That side claimed that they won. And then, of course, he said, nope, that's just not true. I win, and that's all there is to it. She then went into hiding for this entire time. Months later, she has come out into public, and as she was in public, what they say happened is she was violently intercepted and taken. Taken, and who knows where she's at. So this is very, very crazy. Now they have announced an increased $25 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on the day he was sworn in for the third 6-year term in office. It says the inaugural ceremony was overshadowed by recrimination from the international community and Venezuelan opposition leaders. Rewards have also been offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello, a new reward up for $15 million for Defense Minister Vladimir Badrino. So this is a huge deal because obviously this is the Venezuelan president, ally of Russia, ally of Iran, ally of China, and whatever they did there, it caused millions of Venezuelans to actually leave, him basically saying, nope, you're just wrong, and I'm the president, which caused huge problems for the U.S. Is this the kind of clap back? $25 million reward for this guy, but yet they dropped the $10 million reward for the Al-Qaeda leader turned revolutionary. I think it's pretty nuts. We're going to talk about this and much, much more. There is so much to go over in a short amount of time, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, lots and lots of craziness going on. The Venezuelan thing, of course, this is the same Maduro that I've covered many events with Maduro. Going back, if you guys remember, he was almost taken out by a drone. In fact, one of his security guards, I believe, or police officers stood in front and actually took it for him. That was crazy. But all the way up through this, Pick the Prez Day, where he supposedly lost, but basically said nope, and this is now the situation. Venezuela also voted, and they say that this vote was done basically with his loyalists, that they did it in such a way that only his loyalists and the people that would vote for this, that they would also take over their neighbor Guyana for its resources. They said, hey, should we take over Guyana? Let's do a vote. And all of his loyalists said yes. This is also the same Venezuela that the TDA gang came from. This is the same Venezuela that experts said that 10 million people were going to leave the second that he won this third 6-year term because people say they cannot live in it any longer. I don't live there. I don't know what the real situation is, of course, but I do know that this is an ally of Russia, that they've been working very closely with Iran, and there is something massive coming. And I absolutely believe Venezuela will play a part. North Korea and South Korea, I think that is going to be what triggers off this whole circle of, it's almost like a ring of fire. So yeah, very, very crazy stuff. And then we have House bill to impose sanctions on ICC officials for Israeli prosecutions. So a lot of people are looking at what's happening right now, and they're looking at it's pretty backwards. Now, remember, you can find a bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document of every show that we are going to show you here today over on our website. You can just look for today's thumbnail on the main link. It's right down below in the links right under this show. And again, you can find everything there. Also, before we get started, I do want to remind you, make sure to go support all of our wonderful mods. Their links are over on marfooglenews.com/friends. Dex, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on? How are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So, lots of great things going on as far as horrible events. We have fires all over the world. We have leaders and criminals and gang leaders and mafia members. It's a crazy show. So, Dex, let's talk about the House bill to impose sanctions.
So look, the International Criminal Court, this is the ICC. These are the ones that, we kind of laughed about when they went after Putin, but then they also went after Netanyahu as well as other officials in Israel for war crimes and other things, and they've actually got arrest warrants out for them. Well, there was a bill last year that the Congress tried to push through that was going to sanction anybody that worked with the ICC in relation to that. It didn't pass because it got hung up with the Senate, but now the Senate and the Congress has changed, so they're expecting this to get right through. So this bill will instruct the president to freeze all property assets and deny visas to any foreigners who materially or financially contributed to the court's efforts to investigate, arrest, detain, prosecute a protected person. It then defines a protected persons as anyone in current or former military, government officials of the United States, and allies that have not consented to the court's jurisdiction, such as Israel. So if these people do what they've done to Netanyahu and the others, the other officials in Israel, then they will be sanctioned. Anybody that had anything to do with it will lose their visa status and have any assets frozen. So if this gets passed through, it's a pretty big slap in the face to the ICC people that are involved.
One of the direct quotes is this was Representative Brian Mass, Republican of Florida, says, America is passing this law because a kangaroo court is seeking to arrest the prime minister of our great ally. Now, wherever you sit on the two different sides of this thing, again, we are discovering that they are now doing this. And this is right before the Dawn takes power. Many believe that the Dawn will support Israel in any way possible, which the downside to this, a lot of our prepper community looks at this and says, well, that means we're probably going to be seeing some sort of conflict or be supporting one. Israel is currently in this whole conflict with not only Iran, but Hamas and everybody else. So, and all of those guys are all partnered up with Russia, China, North Korea, and Venezuela. So, yeah. And then we've got Japanese crime leader pleads guilty in U.S. To trafficking nuclear materials from Myanmar. So does this connect with other things? This is actually very spooky because there's been a lot of rumors, especially surrounding all of the drones that were floating over New Jersey. There were rumors about nuclear activity or nuclear spikes in New York, at least 2 different spikes that they were talking about. And, of course, now you've got this unrelated story. The leader of a Japanese crime syndicate who was charged by U.S. authorities with trafficking nuclear materials from Myanmar pleaded guilty on Wednesday, the U.S. Justice Department said in a statement. Takeshi Ebisawa, if I'm saying that right, 60 years old of Japan, pleaded guilty in Manhattan, New York, to conspiring with a network of associates to traffic nuclear materials, including uranium and weapons-grade plutonium. Wonder what they were going to do with that, right? From Myanmar to other countries. The Justice Department said Ibisawa also pleaded guilty to international narcotics trafficking and weapons charges. So they say that they charged the Japanese Yakuza crime leader with conspiring to traffic nuclear materials. By the way, I've heard people say that like the Yakuza is not the same or it's not around anymore, just like they say that the U.S., the New York mob isn't around. The New York Mafia is still there. All of these things are still there. They've just gone really, really quiet. As far as the Yakuza, they're definitely still going. So, yeah, this is pretty wild. And does it sound like this guy's just like, hey, I'll do whatever for a check or, a big suitcase of money? Did he have intentions, or was this just simple like, hey, I'm a mobster, I traffic in anything? This is like straight out of a movie. Like, suitcase with weapons-grade plutonium and uranium in it. I mean, it's absolutely nuts that this stuff happens in real life. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. I won't spend long on this, but I will say this. With everything going on right now, I hope that you see the value in all of our affiliates being something that we believe will either save your life or help you survive a disaster or make you comfortable through it. This device will actually protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats against not only EMP strikes from adversaries, electromagnetic pulse attacks, but it will also protect you against a Carrington-level event from the sun. Whichever one you're following, you probably know that they've been talking about it a lot. There's been executive orders done because all of our grid is basically extremely vulnerable, so make sure to go check this device out. It takes 10 minutes to put in your car, and that way you're going to get home to your family to bug in or get out to bug out. You can also put them on generators to keep your generators going, even if the grid doesn't come back on. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You're not only helping save yourself in a disaster, but you're also helping save journalism. So thank you guys, and I appreciate you. All right. Let's see here. And then let's go back into the news. Ukraine says it blew up a warehouse full of Russian recon drones with a homemade Newark of Neptune anti-ship missiles. Dex.
Wow, so they basically hacked this Neptune missile and turned it into something greater than it was meant for. So they took this, allegedly, they say its forces have attacked a Russian warehouse facility full of reconnaissance drones on Friday. They used this homemade missile. And it was the cross-border attack targeted drone and ammunition storage facility. It was in the Rostov region. It's kind of in this general area where we're showing you on the screen there. The source said that Ukraine's first launched drones to overwhelm Russia's air defense in the area and then struck with the missiles. So I guess that's another tactic, is to sort of distract with one thing or make them feel like it's a drone attack as opposed to a missile attack and then sneak one of these in. But that's apparently what they did. Now, why it's important and why do we need to know this is we've seen these back and forth, obviously, as there's a conflict is going to continue to rage on between Russia and Ukraine, and more so between now and, say, when the Don takes power. We think that there's going to be a shift at that point, and they're definitely talking about it happening. But everything that's going on in these last few days are critical, whether it be from Ukraine's point of view or more so from Russia's point of view, because they've been the one just hammering relentlessly against Ukraine. So trying to get as much position and take out as much infrastructure as they can as quickly as possible.
Now, I also want to make a quick correction. I made this over on news. We apparently had buffering. We are not on DLive or X or Rumble because there is, yet again, other issues with Restream's servers just with the West Coast. So I don't know if this time it's because of something that's going on with the fires. I don't know. But we're not live on those platforms. We were for news, but it was buffering through that show. So I do want to make a correction as well. Yesterday or the day before, I, like many others, ended up watching that video of the firemen with the bags. I wanted to let you guys know I correct anything if it's blatantly wrong and somebody points out, hey, you are completely off on that. It turns out that those bags are called canvas bags, and firemen use them instead of 10 or 15 minutes getting the fire hose hooked up or doing all of that. If it's a small fire around, say, a dumpster, like what that was, they'll just grab a 5-gallon canvas bag, they'll take it, and they will put it on a dumpster and put the fire out. So I was wrong on that, so I wanted to make that correction and clean house there. But also, yeah, just wanted to make sure that that was corrected. And I also want to point out, thank you, Lisa Douglas. Thank you for your support on that show, even though it was all messed up and buffering. I appreciate your patience and everybody's patience through all of this. We've been having so many weird issues since we started covering the healthcare CEO thing. That's when a lot of it really started. So thank you guys for not only supporting us, but sharing us out. Share us out with friends and family members. Share us, over on X and everywhere you can. Thank you. And thank you, Carol. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Thank you, and thank you. And then T-Man promises to reveal what's going on with the drones. So our former president, the Don, and our next is saying that he's going to tell the truth about it. He said he vowed to reveal exactly what is happening with the drones that have been seen flying over the East Coast and beyond for weeks. Now, is this going to go south? Is he going to say, I got the update on these things. These are Iranian. These are Chinese. These, is he going to confirm what, the Cybertruck exploder was actually saying? The Cybertruck guy in his original first email said that that all of these drones were actually taking off from a submarine off the East Coast. Now, that does sound hard to believe, but I do believe that technology is out there. And drones like that, if China is telling the truth about their cloaking abilities with this new invisible cloak stuff that they can put on their aircraft, then who knows? It might possibly be. But most people believe, and I'm halfway there, is that these things were U.S. made, and that there's something far, far more nefarious going on behind it. So T-Man also noted that several governors who he was meeting with have told him that there are mystery drones over their states and that they want answers. Well, are we going to get the real answers? I mean, the one thing about T-Man is he's also promised to release different things, but then right before it releases, somebody talks him out of it. Like the JFK stuff. He said, I'm going to release everything on it. He admitted publicly that somebody came to him and gave him a good reason why he can't and why he shouldn't. So he didn't. He released a lot of it, but he didn't release all of it. So is this actually going to be released? If it is national security, we don't know. So I guess we will see, and we'll be following it. If you want the update on that, and if you want the update on the drones as soon as it comes out, then make sure to hit the subscribe button, and of course, hit the bell notification to all. All right, and then we have T-Man, of course, gets unconditional discharge from the hush money case. Everybody didn't really know where this was going to go as far as is this going to go south? Is he going to get some sort of huge fine? But again, unconditional discharge. Dex, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so he's still, I guess, officially a felon. This is a full-on conviction. He just has no punishment. There's two things from this that I think about. One, he did try to get the Supreme Court to allow it to be suspended until later, and lost that. And I think it was a 5-4 decision, with Amy Comey being one of the people on the 5. If she'd have just been on the other side with the rest of the people that sort of lean that direction, then he would have been fine and it would have been held over. But they also did it. The Supreme Court understood that the judge was coming to them saying, I will do an unconditional discharge, meaning he won't have any punishment. Because had he come to them saying that he would do jail time or something else, then the Supreme Court's decision might have been different, they said. So now the judge, after the Supreme Court ruled that way, was sort of forced by hand not to change his position and come up at the last minute and say, you know what, I'm going to let you do community service, or I'm going to put you in jail. So, and then the second part about this that's important is this process had to happen for him to actually move to the official appeal process, to take it to the next level and appeal the actual outcome for a different verdict. So that's how it all changes. Nothing really affects anything other than it's a giant distraction for him, and he's not going to jail.
And for us, and yeah, because you can't appeal something that hasn't been finished. If there's no final thing to appeal, then what are you going to appeal? And then quick reminder, if you're looking for a generator, make sure to go check out Grid Down. Again, marfooglenews.com/bugout. If you end up going and getting something like this right now in Georgia, you guys are on the cusp of losing power. How many did you say there's like 150,000 people without power in Georgia or in that total area?
Yeah, the number is growing, and I've had my power go out about 7 times today. Fortunately, they're all short and quick, but yeah, it's kind of scary when I hear about all my neighbors losing it now because of the ice storm we've had.
And I've been working with you for 6 or 7 years. You've only lost I don't even know if you've ever like permanently lost it. You might have lost it once. But the other
I don't usually have outages here. I rarely have outages here. The only time is if it's an ice storm, and those are when they're usually long, and those are the ones that are the worst, like you saw in Texas and other locations when you get that ice, because it just takes so much effort on the power company to bring the power back up. And right on, man. I had my solar generators charged up and ready to go because I knew we were going to need them.
So in those kind of instances, something like this is an amazing thing to have. And again, for all of you that are dealing with the polar vortex, highly recommend going over. This has a super high capacity, whereas before, a lot of people, when we have energy, people are going, hey, but I need a higher capacity, or I need something with the 30 amp. That is this. This has a 6,000 peak and a 3,000 continuous watt output. So again, this is much beefier. Not only as good as the energy, but it is a higher capacity. So go check it out, Grid Down Bug Out. You can actually get several different models. You can get the original Bug Out, and then you can get XP extenders. All of them are EMP shield protected right off the bat. You can get up to 6.97 with 2 XPs on there for a package deal. If you get anything over just an XP with the 4.29 kilowatt hours, you will get a 30%, or you can qualify for the 30% tax rebate. MarfoogleNews.com/bugout, and make sure to use the code MARF. It helps us. Again, we are on our own. And then 10 perished, 10,000 structures. The entire Los Angeles debacle is a disaster. And even over the last news show where we talked about this, more and more people are emailing and telling us how bad this is and how horrid it is. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and one of the new rumors that's going out right now is that the mayor has fired the chief of the fire department, which is not true at the moment. It's so bad. So get this, folks. The let's see, it was, I'm trying to remember her name. Chief Kristen Crowley was on an interview, asked 3 times in this interview if they thought that Karen Bass had failed the department, and thousands of Los Angeles whose homes have been destroyed, asked him 3 times, and every time she responded with yes, basically saying that the mayor has, harmed the fire department and its ability. So then, of course, everyone's expecting the mayor to fire her, but now the mayor had to come out just a few moments ago and reiterate that no, her position has not been eliminated. And this is an interesting situation where you now have the head of the fire department calling out the mayor for all the things that we reported on. We reported on the fact that they gave away stuff. They didn't have water. She was out of town, even though she knew the fire was going to start because of the high propensity of it happening. Yeah, it's a catastrophe to the people. It's also looking to be a political catastrophe between the head of the fire department and the head of the mayor's office.
And of course, don't avoid the elephant in the room. They're now saying that people are purposely trying all over the place to light these things. So, as we said before on a show a couple nights ago, that the easiest attack, I mean, you don't have to run your car into somebody. You don't have to have parts off of dark web to make a boom explosion. You need a lighter and a windstorm to do extreme damage to a country. And what is scary, and it's weird even saying it because you don't want to give anybody any ideas, this could happen anywhere in the country. Raise your hand if you live somewhere that has wind. I think all of us just raised our hand, right? So if you think about that, if there is coordination, recently Sarah Adams over on the Sean Ryan show talked about, and she is ex-CIA, so you never know if all of this is, part of some sort of grand narrative, but said that they, through open source information, are predicting that there will be a nationwide attack in 2025, over 1,000 members of Al-Qaeda involved. Not only will it happen in the U.S., but it will happen in Europe at the same time. Now, we are going to start closely following what's happening in Europe, especially around fires and things like this, because right now, you have to look at this as something that could potentially be that way. My family personally lost their family home. So my second cousin lost their home. They stayed with their son for a couple days, but they have dogs and the son doesn't allow it. So now they have to find another place. And then that place is only good until the 17th. They recently just posted that they said they're off to start their vagabond life. I think she's in her 60s now. So that's really unfortunate. With this, is this something that could have been prevented? Fires really, it's hard to prevent them, but with the right equipment and with the right budgets and with everything worked out real nice, it would be minimized. And did that happen? Absolutely not. This is a horrid event. We're praying for everybody that's involved. And again, is this going to happen in more places? I would keep your head peeled or your eyes peeled and head on a swivel, because if there's somebody that is weird wearing a full-on ski mask in your neighborhood and they're trying to go click, then I would do the same thing that we're seeing these people in the videos do, and they're grabbing these guys. So, but is that part of it? Why are they being caught? Why is it so openly being done in the open in the daylight? Why wouldn't these guys come at night? Dex, did you think about that I think one of those videos is done in broad daylight. The guy is trying to light something, right? Why would they do that?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I do know that when you have the right mix of high temperature, of high winds, dry air, a long period with no rain, that it's ripe for a fire like that to spread. I even seen them here in Georgia, even recently, not too far away from me, where it just everything went up because we had this massive windstorm come through. It was very dry, and I don't know what started that one, but it spread everywhere and scared a lot of people. So yeah.
And then, of course, over on news, we covered the erroneous alert that went out to all of LA. People were freaking out thinking my home is in danger when it was sent out by air. Something is going on. Something massive is coming. That is my opinion, and I will stick to it. 2025, we are still 10 days away from T-Man taking office. And you know what's so crazy? I was watching the whole Clinton affair thing. A lot of people have been watching it lately. It's a documentary. I don't know when it came out, but it goes over Monica Lewinsky's story, and it talks about, Bill and all of the events that happened. And in that, I started thinking about every president as they took office. They had this massive, massive disaster, and it looks like it's being set up for that. I mean, you have these rumors of another CV-like event, like in 2019 happening. You have the fires, which are completely taking up all of the news space. No one is talking about anything else. Yet, over the last year, we've had all of these crazy events, and nobody's rehashing them. Nobody's giving us updates on this stuff. People need to have their stuff ready. By the way, there was an email from Jake, and I wanted to thank you for this email. And I will try to get the info. I'll look over the info, but I really appreciated the testimonial from you. Jake M. says, good evening, Adam. Longtime subscriber here. Wanted to share with you, as it says, it both affected U.S. and Canada power school systems. Not sure if it's newsworthy, but to me, very alarming. What would they have for this information and data? Some people may have been calmed down or feel like things are going to be okay, but I don't think so. Something is coming. I agree with you on this. Thank you for all you do. You've helped me more than you know. In 2020, I was living and working in Texas. My ex-wife and my son are from Texas, but I have custody, and I came back to Canada because that's where I'm from. And all your shows and information and alerts made it so we were well prepared long before the 2019 event happened. My job required me to keep working and traveling through the U.S. during that event. I wasn't worried because I had prepped. Thanks to you. Anyhow, stay safe. And I hope this info shared with you brings some story to some story to share. So I will get the information out of this and the attached documents, but I wanted to say thank you, Jake. And if you have a story like this over the last 7 years, did this community help you? It doesn't even have to be us or myself or Dex. It could be the community. We used to have live meetings in different cities. California was one of the biggest. We had 2 groups in California. Some of them had really, really large meetings. They would meet at restaurants, have dinner, and talk about prep and talk about all the current events. So again, these are really what makes this channel great. It is all about you guys, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you. And Dex, thank you. This is a shorter show. I just got a surgery yesterday, so my tooth is, the second day actually hurts more. I have to have 3 more root canals after this one. So I'm not going to do too long of a shoutro, but I do want to say thank you to Lisa Douglas, and I'm going to do a quick one for you. I'm going to have to switch out. Restream is down, so we will be cutting off, and then we'll be joining back. If you want to stay in the chat, I think we'll be able to port you over. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Yes, we will, and much love. Great job, brother.
Have a great night, guys. Be safe, and definitely keep your eyes peeled. Please get yourself some extra food and water, and get yourself some extra medicine. Have a great night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro.